Been a hot minute. I will admit, it's been a while. We're back. We're back, baby. Who Gives a Dram? Back on another week, being introed in by the beautiful man that is Nick Bossy, Cocaine Sunrise. I've never done cocaine. I've actually never done drugs, and that's not a lie. I've never done drugs, and I'm proud of that. Matter of fact, never even smoked weed. I've never even smoked a cigarette. But I drink whiskey like a fish, so maybe that's where my vice is. Whiskey, cigars, and hearing the lamentations of the women. What's going on, people? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Who Gives a Dram. I'm not sure what episode this is. I think this is episode 119, if I'm not mistaken. I'll check right now, but I appreciate you guys checking us out. Didn't record last week because I was a busy little bee, busy little buzz bee. It's been a long week already. It's Tuesday, May 2nd, and before I forget and before I go further, I do want to say today is my dad's birthday. So Dad, happy birthday. He's 58 years old. That just sounds like an old number. 58. It just sounds like a number that is used to describe old things. 58 is, no matter what way you put it, 58 is old. No matter in what way you use it, 58 is a lot. I mean, 58 cents is a lot compared to 1 cent, you know? So, like, 58 is up there. No, but I just want to say happy birthday to my dad. I love you, and it's been a tough year, but, we're here celebrating another time around the sun, another rotation around the old sunny poo. And I'm actually got to record this pretty quick because we're having a dinner tonight for Dad, and that is going to be eggs and bacon. So I'm going to have bacon, egg, and cheese, homemade, and then a whoopie pie for dessert because that's what he wants. And it's on your birthday. I've said this on the podcast. I think birthday should be a bigger deal. It's the one day a year that it's your day. So we got him a nice old Home Depot gift card. Because what else do you get a dad? And some other things as well. So I'm gonna cut this podcast short, and so I can enjoy my time tonight with them, eating a family dinner, which I'm looking forward to. But other than that, I've been training a lot, been lifting a lot. This past weekend was at a powerlifting competition for my cousin Seth, representing the Bulldog Wing, and he did well. Didn't hit the numbers he wanted to hit, but squatted 700 pounds, even though on a technicality he actually didn't squat 700 pounds, but the weight went down and went back up. It was a squat. It was 700 pounds. The spotter behind him touched him, which automatically red lights you, which is a ridiculous rule, but for those that powerlift, that's what happens. If you're listening to this and you're a powerlifter, you know that on a squat, if the back spotter touches you in any way, it counts as an assistance, and then therefore you are automatically red lit. But it was a good lift, and he squatted 700 pounds, which is huge. So that's what we were doing this weekend. I was up in Massachusetts both Saturday and Sunday, 2 long days. And I'm doing the same thing next Saturday for Ryan, Trevor, and Declan. Another powerlifting competition up in Malden, Massachusetts, about an hour 40 away. But I'm looking forward to it, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else because I love lifting. And also, I got a brand new. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen this. I got a brand new squat rack. It's a half rack. I forgot the company that makes it. I wanted to give them a shout out, but it's great. It's from Canada, and it's heavy duty. It's super heavy duty. It's way overbuilt, and it's got like a 1,500 pound load capacity. We got a brand new bar. It's a stiff bar, so it's not ideal for deadlifts, but it's a nice one. Got a few 100 pounds of weights of 45-pound plates, as well as some other things. So that was fun. I set that up yesterday, lifted on it yesterday, and today I just did cardio, so I didn't actually lift. But that's what my week's been up to so far. Hope you're having a good week. It's been very long. The Flash trailer came out, which I want to talk about quickly. But today's podcast is basically going to be, I'm going to tell you guys. I have a lot of whiskeys I can review, but I wanted to hold off on the reviews for a week because we have a lot of reviews coming out on Bourbon with Friends, and I just wanted to touch base with you guys, people that are listening. And by the way, didn't release a podcast last week, still hundreds of downloads. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's big. Didn't release a podcast last week, still had hundreds of downloads, and that's a sign to me that the podcast is reaching the right people. So thank you very much for listening and downloading the podcast. Anyways, I wanted to sit down this week, and I just wanted to go over the whiskeys that I'm currently drinking. I selected 4 whiskeys that I've been drinking more often than others. And it's really in any situation that I'm drinking these whiskeys. It's whether I'm sitting down on the couch watching TV or watching a movie. If I'm pouring a whiskey to go smoke a cigar. If I'm pouring whiskey, if I'm working on the podcast and I just want to have a little bit to wet my beak. I've been reaching for these 4 whiskeys, and I kept in mind the time of year. Springtime. Things are coming to life. Things are warming up. The ground is unfreezing. The flowers are blooming. So I think the whiskeys that I picked are appropriate for this time of the year, but they also just happen to be the whiskeys that I'm drinking the most. So we will go right into that. I do want to offer my quick predictions on UFC 288 this weekend. We'll talk about the co-main and main event real quick. It is UFC 288. Where is it being held? Is it in Las Vegas? It must be because it's Henry Cejudo. Oh, no, it's in Newark. That's right, Prudential Center, Newark. Shout out New Jersey. Main event is Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. Aljamain Sterling, the current bantamweight champion. Henry Cejudo retired. He's coming back. He's the former flyweight and bantamweight champion, also an Olympic gold medal winner in wrestling. Co-main event is a fight that was just made, Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. We just talked about Gilbert Burns for the Jorge Masvidal fight. Quick turnaround for him, getting the number 4 ranked Belal Muhammad. And the rest of the card is pretty good. Bryce Mitchell had to pull out today, I think, because he has an injury. So, I mean, it's not a bad card. I will buy it if I can get other people to watch it with me, and I'm not paying the full price because the main event is an all-timer. But quickly, I want to speak to Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns and offer my predictions. I do think that Gilbert Burns is the better fighter and the more talented fighter. However, he's coming off a 3-round fight just a few weeks ago. He didn't really get hurt. He didn't really take that much damage, but it was a brawl. It was a fight, and I think that's gonna affect him a bit going into this fight. Belal Muhammad is fresh. He hasn't fought in a bit. The last time he fought was in October, and he won via KO. So he's been not as active, but he is the number 4 ranked. And my prediction is that he will beat Gilbert Burns in a decision. I believe their fight is 5 rounds, so that favors Belal because he's going to have the cardio. Belal is the most boring fighter in the UFC, but he is good. He's basically Colby Covington. If Belal Muhammad and Colby Covington fought each other, it'd be the most boring fight in the history of mixed martial arts. It would be more boring than Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis, which was atrocious. That being said, I am taking Bilal Muhammad in this fight. I do think I think he pulls it off. I think he kind of just lays on Gilbert Burns and suffocates him in the wrestling and wins probably a decision. I don't know if it will be unanimous or split, but he'll win a decision. But the main event here is very interesting to me. Aljamain Sterling, the current bantamweight champion of the world, coming to Newark, New Jersey to face Henry Cejudo, Triple C. Henry Cejudo, last time he fought was in 2020, where he beat Dominic Cruz by KO. Before that, he beat Marlon Moraes by KO. He beat TJ Dillashaw by KO. And he beat Demetrius Johnson by decision. Sergio Pettis by decision. I mean, he's beaten some of the best smaller guys to ever fight in this sport. He beat Demetrius Johnson for the flyweight belt in 2018. Then he turned right around. He beat TJ Dillashaw, Marlon Moraes, and Dominic Cruz, all at bantamweight. So that is incredibly impressive. Henry Cejudo then retired as the champ. He was the champion of both bantamweight and flyweight at the time. He gave up both belts. And in that time, Aljamain Sterling has come into his own and has picked up some key wins. Since that time, he's beaten Corey Sandhagen by submission, which was a huge fight. He beat, technically, on a technicality, he beat Peter Yan when Peter Yan kneed him in the face back in 2021 while he was downed. His hands were on the ground. Peter Yan kneed him in the face. You're not supposed to do that. So Aljamain Sterling won the title on a technicality, and then people thought that he was going to get mollywopped by Peter Yan in the rematch a year later. This was last April. He beat Peter Yan by split decision, but it was more so, it was a convincing win for Aljamain Sterling, and he really showed his wrestling prowess against Peter Yan. And then he came right back and beat TJ Dillashaw. TJ Dillashaw got hurt during the fight, so Aljamain did win by KO, or TKO, I should say, in round 2. But Aljamain Sterling does have a very, very impressive resume, along with Henry Cejudo. Now, this is a tough fight to predict, though, because your gut says Aljamain Sterling should probably win this. He's been active. He's been fighting the best of the best. He's the current champion. The odds are in his favor, and he's just been more active than Henry Cejudo. But then you look at Henry Cejudo and look at his accomplishments and look at his skill set and look who he's training with. Training with John Jones, by the way, for if you don't know that. And his mindset, and you look at what he's done in the sport, it's hard to bet against Henry Cejudo here. I really think it's hard to bet against Henry Cejudo. My gut says Sterling. My heart says Cejudo. I think I'm rooting for Henry Cejudo. I like his character. I like his cringiness aspect. And I just think he's one of the best to ever do it. I think he's got incredible fight IQ. I think he's smart. And I don't think he's going to put himself in a position where he's going to let himself get in trouble. So my official prediction will be a Henry Cejudo win, cementing himself as one of the best of all time, top 3. And sticking around, I think if Henry Cejudo wins, I think he either goes up to fight Volkanovski for the featherweight championship, assuming Volkanovski wins against Yair Rodriguez in July, or he's got a very lucrative money fight in Sean O'Malley, waiting for him at bantamweight, who is the number 1 contender, essentially. Same thing with Aljamain. If Aljamain wins, he will most likely fight either Corey Sandhagen or Sean O'Malley, but Aljamain already has a win against Corey Sandhagen by finish, so I would imagine they give him Sean O'Malley after this. So it's going to be an entertaining night of fights. I'm not positive if I'm going to watch it yet. I don't think I'm going to, because Saturday I'll be in Boston all day at our powerlifting meet. So I probably won't watch it, but I'll still catch the highlights at the very, very least. But great night of fights. If you're not doing anything Saturday, I'd recommend you watch it, and I think it's going to be fun. One thing I am going to watch this week, though, switch gears real quick into movie talk. I don't have a whole lot of movie talk today, but I do want to say that the Flash trailer came out. We'll talk about that first before I get into what movie I'm going to see this week. The Flash trailer came out. It was amazing. Yes, there are some shots in there where the CGI looks a little wonky, But as long as the story is good and most of the CGI shots look good and it's not overly funny, I can forgive some lackluster CGI as long as it doesn't take away from the story. If it's like cartoonish bad, even for a few seconds, then yeah, that will dampen my thoughts of the movie. But if it's just a few shots here and there that are not as good as we've come to imagine big budget Hollywood films CGI being, but the story is there, the acting is there, most of the shots are there, like then I can handle it. So I don't mind the few shots that did look a little wonky in the trailer. However, this movie's gonna be great. Like this movie's gonna rule. People are saying some very well respected critics are saying one of the best superhero movies of all time, one of the best superhero movies, or the best superhero movie since The Dark Knight. A lot of the times these movies get compared to The Dark Knight because it is the standard of superhero movies being considered film, not just throwaway action films with some campy dialogue and iffy CGI or iffy effects. The Dark Knight was the first one to really. I mean, there was Heath Ledger won the Oscar. I mean, he won the Oscar, so it makes sense why The Dark Knight is kind of what everything is compared to, and a lot of people are comparing The Flash to this. Now, we'll see how it does. Reactions seem to be mostly good, but a lot of people are skeptical. A lot of people are saying it's very funny, which I'm not against, but I hope they're careful with it. Andy Muschietti, who's the director, he directed the It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2, the new ones. I really liked It Chapter 1, didn't really care for It Chapter 2. So I hope it's not overly funny where it's campy and it's a little bit cringy. I hope they mix in the humor well. Michael Keaton's Batman is kind of a less serious Batman in a way, so a few lines here and there for him to be funny makes sense, and I really hope they do Supergirl well. I really hope they make that a character that people are going to want to see moving forward, because it might not be that girl playing her. I have a feeling that everyone's going to die in this film, and the only one that's going to be left is the Barry Allen from our universe, the one that we know. So even if it's a different actress playing Supergirl, I hope that there's at least enough respect gained from this performance in this movie that a Supergirl movie will be greenlit, because Supergirl is a very interesting character. If you don't know a lot about Supergirl, watch I believe it's Superman versus Doomsday or Darkseid. It's called Superman Batman Apocalypse. That's the animated movie I'm thinking of. And watch that. Supergirl's in that she's one of the main characters, and it is a great portrayal of how that character should be. So listen, John Wick Chapter 4 was my most anticipated movie this year, but The Flash is probably number 2. And what's probably number 3, but if not number 3, definitely in the top 5, is the movie I'm seeing this Friday, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If you know me, whether in real life or just online or just through the podcast, I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is in my top 5 Marvel movies, and the first Guardians of the Galaxy is not far behind. And again, everything that the reviews are saying right now is that this movie is a fitting, emotional, funny, and action-packed end to the trilogy, and is a definitive end to the trilogy, which I like. People are saying it doesn't have any tie-ins with the wider MCU to the extent that Ant-Man did or Doctor Strange did, which I am all for. Please just make it about the Guardians. Make it about Adam Warlock. Make it about that group of people. We don't need to connect it yet Just keep it in the Guardians universe. They deserve a fitting end to their trilogy. Guardians 1 is an all-time superhero movie. Guardians 2 is an all-time sequel to a superhero movie. I have a feeling this might go down as the best Marvel trilogy. It's going to be hard to be the best superhero trilogy because you do have the Dark Knight trilogy, but Guardians 1 is an all-timer. I personally love Guardians 2. This has the potential to be my personal favorite superhero trilogy. And I'm seeing it Friday night. I don't really know when or where, but I will buy a ticket soon. And I'm excited to talk about it next week and break it down and just, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to talk about, and I look forward to seeing it in theaters. That's the biggest thing. I want to see it in theaters. I don't even want to. I don't like watching too many things before the movie comes out. For example, they released a clip of Adam Warlock and Rocket Raccoon, and then Rocket Raccoon gets away and Nebula comes out and she's fighting Adam Warlock a little bit. And I saw that clip because it automatically played on my Twitter. And it was great. I don't regret it, but I don't like watching the clips that they put out. I don't like watching anything but 2 trailers. Give me 2 trailers and then I'm good. I don't need to know. I don't necessarily like to read reviews. I don't like to see clips. I don't like to see anything. I just want 2 trailers and that's it. Like, for example, Batman vs Superman, bad theatrical release and fantastic Ultimate Edition release. But bad theatrical release. They had 3 trailers and it basically gave the whole movie away. Now, were the trailers awesome? Yes, they were awesome, but it gave the whole movie away. It gave Darkseid or Doomsday away in the, I don't know, second or third trailer. Like he just showed him, which was a head scratcher. Like, why are you? I don't know. It tells you that Batman and Superman are definitely gonna make up and fight Darkseid. Like, that's obviously going to happen because Darkseid's here. Or not Darkseid, Doomsday's here. Doomsday, not Darkseid. Doomsday. But anyways, the point of that is that I don't like to see that many clips or anything. Give me 2 trailers and then I'm good. 2 trailers and then I'm good. But yeah, let's get into the whiskey. I want to start talking whiskey, and I want to. I'm not going to drink whiskey right now because I do have to drive right after this, and I just don't want to. I don't want to have whiskey in my system yet. But let's do it. Tired. So, like I said, this week I am discussing the whiskeys that I've been drinking consistently for the past few months, maybe 2 months-ish. And listen, when I drink whiskey, I am lucky enough to have a lot of bottles. And I'm lucky enough to have a lot of bottles sent to me too, so I don't have to pay for them. Very nice. For example, this little shooter, or this is a little 100 ml Hemingway Rye, first edition, sent to me by the Call family. Just reviewed it the other day on the podcast. Straight rye whiskey, 100 proof, finished in Oloroso sherry casks. Not even released. It's a $120 bottle of whiskey that I got a sample of. And I got to talk to the guys who distilled it, and it was actually a great episode. Make sure you go over to Bourbon with Friends, follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and check out that Hemingway Rye episode, which probably will be out next week because it is awesome. It's a great episode. Anyways, I'm lucky enough to have these bottles. I'm lucky enough to have bottles. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of bottles sent to me. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of really friendly connections in my area where I'm able to get some really cool bottles for really great prices. Like my Russell's Reserve 13 right behind me, I got for $65 or $80 or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, I am lucky. I'm very lucky in that respect. Any whiskey head will tell you it's all about connections. It's all about treating people like a person if you're trying to find whiskeys that you can't really find. it's gone to the point where I don't even really buy whiskey anymore because I have plenty. I have plenty here at my disposal. I have so much good whiskey that it makes no sense just to drink, you know, Wild Turkey 101 every night or Buffalo Trace every night or any of those generic big brand stuff because I have so much craft here. I have so many bottles. So I like to switch up what I'm drinking. I try to drink something new every time I sip something. And I have my go-tos, don't get me wrong. I just finished my Redemption Weeded, but that is a go-to for me. I don't have a Buffalo Trace right now, but if I do have one, that's a go-to for me. I don't have a backup of Weller 107 right now, but if I did, I'd probably be drinking that a little bit more often. I only have one bottle right now. But these 4 bottles are the bottles that I have kind of gravitated to a little bit more frequently in the past few weeks, few months. And the first one that I want to show you guys, that I just want to get it out of the way because I know people are going to roll their eyes and call me a tater. I hate the word tater, by the way. That is just the dumbest thing ever. But the first whiskey that I've been drinking a lot, right, recently is the original single barrel bourbon Blanton's. And now I don't know if it's necessarily because John Wick came out recently. This bottle actually isn't even opened yet. I grabbed my full bottle. Where's my my other bottle's on the ground. But yeah, no, this is the reason I've been drinking bourbons a lot is Blanton's a lot is because A, I have 2 bottles, and B, Blanton's to me is a whiskey. It's a high quality whiskey. No matter what anyone tells you, Blanton's is a good whiskey. And if you can find it for its MSRP around $60, $65, it is a great buy. And I don't let anyone else tell you, if you're just getting into whiskey and you're listening to this podcast, don't let anyone tell you you shouldn't buy Blanton's because it is a good bourbon. It is good. It's just one of those that it's so sought after because of so many glowing reviews, and it's Buffalo Trace, and it's got a horse on the top, and it's shaped real cool, and it's short and stout, but it is good. But the reason I've been drinking it, I think, is because to me it is a lighter profile with a higher rye content. This is Buffalo Trace's distillate. It's their high rye mash bill. People don't really know what it is. I think it's around 15% rye. So it's got a little bit more rye in the mash bill. And to me, this is just a very like a spicy, sweet, light whiskey that is very approachable to almost everybody. Just like the spring. The spring, it's getting lighter outside for longer. It's warm, but it's not that warm. It still gets a little cold at night. You can still drink this, in the colder months because it does have that little bit of a rye kick to it. But this is 93 proof, 46.5 alcohol by volume. The dump date on this one is 8/18/2022. Stored in warehouse H. From barrel number 2121 on Rick number 29. So don't ever let people tell you that Blanton's isn't worth it, because Blanton's is worth it. It's a great whiskey. I've been drinking it a lot recently. I've had a few pours of it in the past few weeks, and I very much enjoy it, especially if you can find it for MSRP at $60. And we've reviewed this. This Blanton's was one of the first bottles that I reviewed on the podcast. So go back to episode like 6 or 7. Actually, you probably shouldn't, because those episodes suck. But if you really want to, go see me recording in my living room. I'm pretty sure the Blanton's review is on video. It might not be. I don't know. But the second one I've been drinking a lot of, and I'm going to go big brand craft. The second bottle that I've been drinking a lot of is something that I've been hyping up kind of a lot recently. And the fact that I'm a UFC fan plays into this a little bit, but it was sent to me by the good grace of Umberto Lucchini and Bruce Buffer and their marketing people, and we had them on the show, and it was fun to talk to them. But I really, really do think that this is a fantastic whiskey, and it's Puncher's Chance. Puncher's Chance Bourbon, 45% alcohol by volume. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It's bottled by was a Wolf Spirits, and it's distilled in Kentucky. They take it from Wolf Spirits. 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. Again, so it's a medium corn with a higher rye content. And just like Bland's, this is such an approachable whiskey to me. It's got those sweeter notes that I always look for in a bourbon, especially if you're putting it in the budget category, because the MSRP for Puncher's Chance is $30. And to me, that is Puncher's Chance saying, we are confident enough in this whiskey where we'll put it in the most competitive price point in the world, $30. Because you have whiskeys that are a little below it, you have whiskeys that are a little above it, and you have a celebrity behind this. So you could easily sell this for $50. And you could justify it. You have Bruce Buffer pushing it. You have a legendary whiskey figure in Umberto Lucchini, helping out. You have good distillate. That's where it's coming from. But they decided to put it at $30, which is commendable, and it's very bold of them, I should say. It's very bold of them, even though what they have on the palate here, this isn't a bold whiskey. This is such a great entry-level budget bourbon that I tell this to everybody that I come across. Oak, caramel, a little bit of spice in there, a little bit of dark fruit in there, and a finish that isn't overly long, but definitely not short. It's just like the complete budget bourbon. And it's one of my favorite budget bourbons right now. $30, maybe $35 in some spots. I think it's great. For $30, I think Puncher's Chance Bourbon is one of those whiskeys that you can't go wrong with. I would put it in the same category as like a Pinhook, in terms of like flavor profiles and kind of the what it's worth. Plus, it's got a cool bottle. Plus, it's Bruce Buffer. And Bruce Buffer is one of the coolest guys in the world. So, you can't tell me otherwise either. And again, I'm drinking that Puncher's Chance because it's just so inviting and so light. And I just feel like it's, again, a springtime whiskey. I feel like all four of these whiskeys are a bit more springtime. But the third one I've been drinking is a big brand. It is a whiskey that means a little bit more to me now. But it is great because it is higher rye. Again, 94 proof on this one. And it's just, again, top 5 budget bourbons out there. Elijah Craig Small Batch. And the reason this means a lot to me is because it was my Uncle Craig's favorite, and I think about him every time I drink it, which might be the reason I've been drinking this more often now. But every time Elijah Craig to me is kind of like every time I pour Buffalo Trace, or every time I pour Weller 107, or every time I pour Wild Turkey Rare Breed, I know what I'm getting. Elijah Craig is the same way. It's a huge conglomerate. I mean, it's such a large brand and such a popular whiskey that the consistency has to be there. And with Elijah Craig, distilled by Heaven Hill, obviously, 78% corn, 12% malted barley, 10% rye. So this is a little bit light in the rye. The corn really shines in this, and the oak. I've always thought Elijah Craig is a little oakier than most in its category. MSRP on this is right around $35. So it's a little bit more expensive than the Puncher's Chance, but you can find this literally anywhere. And I look at Elijah Craig, and it's one of those whiskeys. It's kind of like Bullet for me. Bullet is what got me into bourbon. So whenever I see Bullet bourbon, it takes me back to my beginning days in exploring the spirit of whiskey. Elijah Craig now reminds me of someone who I loved and who I miss very much, and I think about every single day, multiple times a day. So drinking the Elijah Craig is special to me, and it brings me back, and I'm always gonna have a bottle of Elijah Craig on my shelf, no matter what, because of my Uncle Craig. But also, it's phenomenal whiskey too. Uncle Craig had a very good palate. He is the one who showed me Horse Soldier. He texted me about Puncher's Chance last year, and now with Elijah Craig, he had a great palate. So I'm not surprised why he drank Elijah Craig all the time. But this is my one of my favorites, and yeah, I've been drinking a lot because I miss my Uncle Craig. But anyways, the last one I want to point out on the show here as to what I've been drinking this past few months, we'll say spring. This is something this next whiskey is an example of a whiskey that I've had for a while, but I have so much stuff here that it often gets overlooked. This has been in a box for a bit, and I have a few full bottles of a few different variations of this. And this is actually the old label. They recently changed the marketing on this whiskey. But I got this last year when I went to Kentucky. I brought it home with me after our podcast with this company, and I poured it a few weeks ago. I poured it again the next week, and then I poured it again a few nights ago. And I'm thinking, wow, I need to start drinking this more because of the proof on this, which is 104 proof. But also this like very fruity, but also like almost smokiness that I'm getting now that's been open for a while. And it's now called RD1, but this is Old WM Tar Reserve, 7-year, 104 proof. There it is in the camera. RD1, Registered Distillery 1 is what that means. And we've had RD1 Distillery on Bourbon with Friends twice. So you can go on and listen to our episodes there. I'm not going to get into the history behind it, but I will say drinking this the other night, it reminded me of spring. And I think that's why I've been gravitating towards this now. It's a 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley, 7-year-old bourbon that's blended with a 37% corn, 51% rye, 12% malted barley, 8-year rye whiskey. So it's a blend of whiskeys, straight whiskeys. That's why on the bottle it says Old WM Tar Kentucky Straight Whiskey. It does not say bourbon. It says whiskey. But they do such a good job with highlighting the grains in this, where you get a sugary sweetness and fruitiness that is brought out with the bourbon mash bill, but you also get a nice cinnamon, earthy, almost smokiness in a way from that rye mash bill, because the rye mash bill is a low rye, high corn rye mash bill. It's quite complex from what I remembered during our tasting there, and I'm glad I pulled this out because I've been drinking it pretty consistently, and I've very much enjoyed, sitting down and sipping on this WM Tar 7-year, 104 proof. They do have an 114 proof that I also have, and then they have a lower proof as well. I forgot what it is, but I also have that bottle, and this is definitely something that I will probably continue to drink pretty consistently because it has that it's complex, but it has a nice balance to it. And sometimes in a blend of bourbon and rye, you don't get a balance. Something overpowers the other. But they did a great job over at RD1 blending this into where the flavors are harmonizing quite nice, rather than the corn overpowering the rye. So you're getting like a graininess that's also kind of tastes sour because there's a rye spice in there. Or again, something that's sour but is almost like an artificial sweetness because you have corn in there, and the blends mix. The blends are good, and because it's a little bit sweet, a little bit spicy, I just get that spring feeling. And also, it's got the Kentucky colors on it. blue and white. It's just a bright bottle, and honestly, I just pulled it out randomly a few weeks ago. I was like, I need to drink this. I haven't drank it for a while, and I poured it and I liked it, and now it's been in my daily rotation. So those are the 4 whiskeys that I've been drinking recently: Old WM Tar 7-year, 104 proof, Puncher's Chance bourbon, Blanton's bourbon, and Elijah Craig, a small batch. So that's what I've been drinking recently, and I would suggest picking up any of these bottles if you do want to try something new. If you haven't tried one of these, especially the WM Tar or the Puncher's Chance, I would highly recommend checking these 2 out. Elijah Craig you can find anywhere. Blanton's is Blanton's. You know the deal with that. But I've been drinking these a lot, and then I'll probably do this again in the summertime, which is a interesting time of year for whiskey consumption because it's hot, and you typically don't want to drink whiskey when it's hot, but I'm a different animal. I'm built different, so I do drink whiskey when it's hot, and we'll do this again, and I'll tell you guys what I'm drinking during the summer, but that's what I'm drinking during the spring, so I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me talk about my alcoholism for the past few weeks. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss me talking about whiskey in the future. I'll be back next week with a new episode. Sorry I had to cut this short this week, but I got to go celebrate Dad's birthday. Make sure you're following on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Who Gives A Dram. If you want some Who Gives A Dram merch, go check out the link in my Instagram bio. You can go to my Bonfire store and get some sick merch. Still working on some new stuff as well. And also, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're 5 stars if you like me, and leave me a review and let me know that you enjoy the podcast. And again, thank you everybody for supporting the show. It means the world, and I love talking with you guys. So again, thank you very much, you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. Drink whiskey, get through this week. Let's get into the weekend, and then I will be back to chat with you guys next week. And until then, always remember, whiskey's the water of life. So let's start living.